Welcome to our favorite time of the evening and morning.
Shot time.
Shot time. So you all know that in IVF or in any embryo transfer process, such as we are experiencing for embryo adoption, there are the dreaded progesterone in oil shots. The ones that are the big thick needles. They're really long. They got to go into your muscle, and the medicine itself is thick. So we have been doing this since, well, the date doesn't matter, but we've been doing this for like 3 weeks now. And once in the morning, once at night, every single night. So we're quickly learning some tips and thought it would be great to share that information because when I first started doing these, I was searching YouTube and the internet to try to find tips and tricks for painless progesterone in oil shots. And so I want to be able to share what we have learned. Obviously, Brian has to administer them to me. Technically, I guess he doesn't have to. You can administer these yourself, but it is much easier to have your partner do them. So Brian does them for me. And so he's preparing everything right now. And
Pretty sure we're going to need a second vial on this one.
oh, is at the end of that vial.
Just about. It is.
You can see they're tiny little multi-dose vials, and
Not
there's
much
only
left.
a little bit of oil in the bottom of that.
But when they're brand new, they have not a lot either.
So that's what it looks like, that kind of yellowish tint oil. Now mine is in a cottonseed oil base, so if you have ethyl oleate or a different oil base, it might not look like that, but mine's cottonseed oil. They come in the multi-dose vials where you have several doses in one vial, but you'll see that each of my orders, I have 4 different vials that come in each one of my refills because one vial really only lasts like 5 days because we're doing 1 cc in the morning and 1 cc at night, and each vial is only 10 cc total. Wait, is that right? Am I doing my math incorrectly?
No, that's right.
No, that's right.
Good.
So yeah, so each vial really only lasts like 5 days, so we get a bunch of them. You'll see we also get the alcohol swabs, which Brian uses to clean off the top of the vials before we start anything, and that's important preparation. The other thing we get, let me switch back to the other side actually, because, oh, no, you can get in the light, whatever works, are the wonderful, these are the 18 gauge, yeah, the 18 gauge needle on the syringe. So let me see if I can zoom in. And you can see that. Yeah, that's a pretty thick needle. This is what you use to draw up the medicine, but you don't use that to inject. So you get a smaller needle to inject. But this is what you draw up the medicine with. Mm-hmm. And that's what Brian does. So Brian, what are your tips? Because I don't do this part.
This is pro tip number 1 right here. Whenever you first take the needle out of the package, the rubber stopper inside can actually get it's a little stuck. And so whenever you draw up the medicine and go to do the injection, if it's sticking, it just makes it a little bit harder to give a really smooth, consistent injection. So after I take it out of the package, I like to just sort of exercise the plunger a little bit, just so that it gets a nice smooth action. And then you draw it up to the amount that you are going to be injecting, and getting that air into the syringe and then injecting it into the vial makes drawing up the medicine a lot easier as well, because then you're not fighting the suction.
Okay. I'm going to pause and then I'm going to come back because I'm going to add another light so it's easier to see.
Okay.
Okay.
So after you've got it all drawn up and ready, your vial tops have been cleaned, you're ready to drop the medicine. So it's going to be a little bit tricky because I have a little bit left in the first vial and then need to finish off with the second vial.
That's such a nice needle.
So this one, because I'm mixing vials, I'm not going to put all the air in because that would be too much air for the little bit of medicine I'm trying to get out. But you just sort of do the best you can to get as much as you can. Now that vial's done. For the new vial, you want to make sure you're rotating where you're inserting the needle into the rubber stopper. You don't want to just hit the middle over and over again. So I tend to just start at the 6 o'clock position, and then I just move counterclockwise each time I do it. And then by the time I'm about to repeat, I can do one last one in the middle, and then that vial's done.
Because again, they only last 5 days when you're doing these shots in this amount twice a day.
I'm pushing the air back into the vial so that I can then draw the medicine back out without fighting the vacuum. I find it's easiest if I just hold the end of the stopper, the plunger, with my thumb and middle finger, and then I can push up against this, whatever this piece is, with my pointer finger, and that lets me draw back pretty smooth. I like to draw a little bit past the mark I'm getting, because I know that it's going to trap an air bubble in there, and then I push back to get to the mark, and that pushes all the air out, and then I'm good to go.
Now this is the nice part.
Now I'm going to swap the needles, but before I do that, I pull all the medicine out of the big needle.
Yeah.
So I draw back down just a little bit.
You don't want to lose any.
Very carefully recap the needle.
Don't stab yourself.
I wiggle it a whole bunch to make sure it's actually inside the cap.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That
Just
twists
pops
off
right
real
off.
easy. New guy twists on real simple. Make sure it's on good and tight.
This is a 22 gauge needle now, so it's still 1.5 inches long because it does need to get into the glute muscle. So it needs to be deep enough to get into the muscle. But you can see it's smaller in diameter than the 18 gauge, so it's a little bit more friendly.
Yep. And now that I drew down the first needle and put on the second one, there's now an air bubble back in the medicine. So you want to find the tip of the needle, make sure you can see that, and then push that air bubble back out until you just get the smallest little droplet come out. And that's how you know all the air's gone and you got nothing but medicine left in your vial.
Perfect.
Pro tip number 2, now heat the oil.
Heat the oil. The oil needs to be absorbed by the muscle, and the muscle can more easily absorb it if the oil is not as thick. And one way to help that is to heat the vial with the oil in it. You can put it in a glass of warm water. We just stick ours right in the heating pad that we use after the injection, and we let that heat up for a little bit. And in the meantime, we prepare the pillows for me to lay down on the edge of the bed. And our trick, we do the left side in the morning and the right side at night. Right at night rhymes, so it's easier to remember. So now I'm going to prepare for the actual injection. My cat likes to join us and watch. He likes to sit on the bench while I lay on the bed, and he likes to supervise. So I just sort of lay here and let Brian prepare everything. Normally I'm laying here while he's preparing everything, but obviously I was videoing this time, but I just sort of lay down, play on my phone, read something. At this point, Brian tries to do a little massage just to get a sense of where the knots might be in my glute, because this medicine may form some knots, and it's helpful to not inject into a knot that already exists. So he kind of feels around to see if there are any that he should be aware of and should avoid with the next injection.
There's one right there.
Okay. So you can see he's
feeling. Do you think
feeling.
that we are not to inject into them because they're called knots?
That's why.
That must be it.
That's why.
That seems like a good spot right there.
Yeah, so he sort of picks a spot, takes the alcohol swab, wipes it down. Needs to be a clean spot.
Yep, cleany.
And we let the alcohol swab dry.
Pro tip number 3.
Yeah, because if you inject while the alcohol is still wet, I think the needle kind of brings some of that in, and it's just a little bit more painful than it needs to be. I could be making that up. That may not be scientific at all.
But we do it, and that seems to help.
Right.
Prepare your gauze
Yes.
for afterwards.
Might
just
be a
in
little bit of
case
blood.
You need a little bit.
Might be a little bit of medicine that leaks out. That's normal, but we have a little technique for helping that now. So.
Oil's actually good and warm.
Oh, I kind of folded the heating pad down probably more than you do.
No, that was fine. You did good. So now I make sure this is good and dry. The little hand fan technique if necessary. And you're pretty much good for the injection.
So I'll just put this over here, but I'm still not really going to watch it, so.
That's fine. You want to use your non-dominant hand to sort of flatten the skin out so you've got a smooth surface. And then I still get nervous, and we've been doing this for a while, but I've recently developed a new technique that helps sort of get real loose, and then I just sort of do it on 4. I don't count out loud. I get myself psyched up. And then you just go in nice and quick.
That was basically painless. Honestly, like that was just a tiny, tiny pinch. It wasn't hardly anything.
Then you want to pull up just a little bit just to make sure you don't get any blood. And we did not, so success. And then very slowly inject the medicine. Now that you've already exercised the plunger, it's like really smooth operation, especially with warm oil. It just goes a lot easier than if you don't do those things. Two important steps here. One that I've noticed makes a really big difference for Jenna is if I keep the needle pushed all the way in, like not hard, but enough that like it leaves a little dimple at the end. That has almost eliminated any bleed and any medicine leakage. So that's been like a really helpful additional step. I don't know why, it just has helped. And then I inject about 1/3 between the two lines, and then I wait 5 seconds, and then I do another third, then I wait 5 seconds, do another third, and then that's a nice slow injection.
You want to inject the oil slowly because, again, you want your muscle to absorb it, and the slower you inject it, the more easily it's absorbed. So you just kind of hang out here. It doesn't hurt when the needle's in. I mean, it's already in. Sometimes you'll feel the oil going in a little bit, and that's weird. If you feel it going in a lot, you may have hit a knot.
And you're not supposed to do that.
Right, try your best not to, just because you will feel that one more. Not the injection itself necessarily, but the pain afterwards of injecting into a knot is not pleasant. It's not unbearable. Just take some Tylenol, but it's just easier if you can avoid them. So we go nice and slow to try to prevent them, and have the nice warm oil. So this is what we do. I'm not going to keep filming for the next 2 minutes, but I'll be here for another 2 minutes or so while this happens. So there we are. We'll come back.
So now that we're at the end of the injection, another interesting pro tip that I found that really makes a big difference is after all the medicine is in and you're keeping that needle just pushed in there, like just leave the needle in there for another like 15 seconds. Again, I think that's part of what's really helped me like reduce pretty much all bleeding, all medicine run out, and all bruising. I don't know why, but I've seen just a direct correlation. Maybe like it all absorbs more because it's got more time. I don't know. But this has been sitting in there for a while. So whenever you're done, you just pull out, nice smooth motion, real quick, and recap your needle, put it in your sharps container, and we have like 0 blood, 0 run out. So we're looking good. But then I just take my gauze pad, lay that on top, and I just push on it nice and hard. Again, I think it helps to like disperse the medicine some, keep any potential bleeding from happening, you know, help everything heal up. But we'll just hold this for another like 30, 45 seconds, and then we'll do like a 5-minute massage.
And it's wonderful. It helps in the long run. Massages are going to be really painful because your glutes are going to be really sore, but they're worth it because it really does, I believe, help to disperse knots and to prevent knots from forming, which is, I will take 5 minutes of a painful massage for that. So he just sort of holds it on there now, and then he'll do about a 5-minute massage on that side, and then actually he'll go back to the other side that he injected this morning and do about a 3-minute massage there because he's a good man. And then that's it. Then I'll kind of, you know, sit on a heating pad for a little bit, or, you know, I'll be up doing stuff. I try to move after, you know, walk, squats, lunges. Sometimes I like to like go for a legit walk or exercise, like do an actual workout after. Just try to keep my glute muscles moving so it doesn't just sit and get sore and stiff and tight. It's hard, you know, when it's in the evening and then you kind of just lay down or you go straight to bed or whatever. Because I think it gets tighter that way. But so that's pretty much it. Not bad at all. You can do what you can to make it bearable. You'll see we don't use ice to numb the spot or any sort of numbing cream. If that is something that you find works for you or helps the process, go for it. This is what we found works for us. I was using ice at the beginning a little to try to numb the spot, and it just didn't work. I didn't want to tighten up the muscle by using ice, and so I only left it on for a little bit, and it didn't make any difference with the injection itself. The pain that's really the one you want to try to work on is the pain that you get in the muscles afterwards. It's less about the injection itself, honestly. That part is really not bad if you inject quickly and, you know, follow some of those tips that we talked about. But okay,
Yep.
Hope that helps. Good luck.